Go for it, Rob.
Welcome once again to another episode of Midnight's Edge After Dark. We are coming to you live this time. There's no pre-recorded tape, no pre-recorded anything. We are live without a net, people. Yeah, we're live without a net. Ned Finicello, who's no longer with us, but that's another story. But yeah, we are coming to you for the week ending of August 21st, 2017. I am joined once again by my good friends BEyondDaBliz. How you doing?
Not too bad.
And Mr. Tom Connors from Radioactive Cheese Studios.
How we doing?
Yeah, your studio gets a new name every time we do this. So
I think so.
Yeah. And I am coming to you from Shabby Road Studios here in lovely Fairhaven, Connecticut, overlooking the fabulous Fairhaven garbage dump. So beautiful garbage dump. So anyway, we have a lot of things to get to. We got box office. We have the captain's log. We have other news. First, we have to start on some sad news, though. We have we've lost some pretty major celebrities, actually, and a couple minor celebrities. Tom, why don't you kick it off with us for as we pay our respects to people who have gone before us?
All right. Well, starting off, we lost veteran actor Sonny Landham, who you may recognize from such films as 48 Hours and, of course, Predator. He's one of those actors who's been around for a while. He hasn't had a lot of huge parts, but the few films that he did do, he had a lot of impact on. I know he's had a lot of health issues the last few years, so it's sad to see him go. What are your memories of him, Rob?
My most prominent memory of him is actually as Billy Bear from 48 Hours. And it seems like every movie I've seen him in, he always died. So he gets shot by Eddie Murphy in 48 Hours. He gets killed by the Predator in Predator. Really, that's about all the memories I have of him. So, but he, like I say, he's one of those guys you saw and you knew him from somewhere, and you probably knew him as from something else. As, oh yeah, that's the guy from the other movie. So
right,
yeah.
So yeah, he'll be missed. Do you have any memories of Sonny Beyond?
I don't really know the actor too well, to be honest with you.
Right.
This is kind of the first time I've actually heard of him.
I say he's kind of a little, you're a little young, probably.
I'm not too familiar with him. I don't want to just say something just to say it and pretend I know who he is. Right. No, I'm not really too familiar, but I do know what Predator is. I've seen parts of it before, and it's a very classic '80s film. I haven't really seen him in there. I probably wouldn't have known what actor he was. Again, like you said, Rob, he's one of those actors you're like, I've seen you somewhere before. I don't know what your name is, but I've seen you somewhere before. That's the kind of actor this gentleman is, Mr. Sonny. But other than that, I don't really know too much about him. But it's sad to see him go, though.
Yeah,
of course. So.
Yeah, and the other sad news, actually, we lost actor, comedian, and civil rights activist Dick Gregory.
Oh.
Yeah, after he actually had quite a few health issues in his time, but he's one of those people as a comedian that I kind of admired. So, and he'll be missed. We also lost comedy legend Jerry Lewis, sadly, over the weekend. 91 years old. He had a nice long full life. I don't know what your guys' opinions are about either of those gentlemen, but. I wasn't a terribly great fan of Jerry Lewis, but I acknowledge his controversy and humanitarian at the Jerry Lewis Telethon every year.
Yeah, he's a well-known actor, obviously, throughout the world.
Oh yeah,
the last few years, his opinions have gotten a little out there, and but there's an interesting story about the man, and I know you wanted to share it with us, Rob, because we know a lot of our listeners probably aren't even aware of it, and it's the kind of thing that Midnight's Edge probably would have been involved in had they been around back then. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Beyond, I didn't tell you this story yesterday because I wanted your reaction to be genuine. And actually, for you younger guys out there, for those listening in the chat, actually buckle up because this is one of those stories that you may not have heard. And if you please don't spoil it for the rest of the people. Jerry Lewis, actually, we all know him from movies like The Nutty Professor and The Bellboy. In 1971. Jerry gets this idea. He wants to make a movie about a very sensitive subject for a lot of people. he wants to make a movie about the Holocaust. And being Jewish, it's something that's near a subject that he probably wanted to tackle too. So in 1971, he flies to Sweden, and he gets ready to make this movie. And he recruits actors. A very famous actress in Sweden at the time, Harry Anderson, is in this film. The name of the movie is called The Day the Clown Cried. And the movie's plot is, to say the least, unusual. Probably to say more is bizarre. The movie is about a German actor, and later on in the film, the actor's name was changed to Helmut Dork. I'm not making that up. He's a clown. He is an unsuccessful actor, and he's drunk on the street one night. He gets arrested by the SS, and he gets thrown into a concentration camp. Now, that's not the weird part. The weird part is his job in the concentration camp is entertaining the children, and I kid you not, as he's leading them into the gas chambers.
Woo!
And that's
the plot of the movie.
Okay.
That's the plot. And I told this story to Matt, and he's waiting. Matt Weiss, one of our community members. I told the story to Matt. He's like, I'm waiting for the punchline. I said, no, there is no punchline. That's the movie. I am not making this up. You can research this. And this is a movie that has actually, the more people over the years have talked about it, the more kind of it's been grown in infamy. And then he completes the movie, and it hasn't been seen ever. He's locked it away. He deliberately locked it away. Only 6 people in the world have seen this movie, the completed version. One of them actually was Harry Shearer from The Simpsons and from This Is Spinal Tap. He did an interview with Howard Stern a number of years ago, and he said, Howard asked him, how is the movie? Is it as bad as you can imagine? He goes, Howard, you would not believe how bad this is. He goes, he says, he said he was sitting there, and he said, my God, I can't believe what I'm watching. And apparently the final scene is him walking into the gas chamber with one of the kids.
Right. I think there's quite a few pictures out there. There's actually been a documentary about it. There's about 30 or so minutes worth of footage people have culled together. But yeah, it's a very famous story about a movie that never seen the light of day. And I think you were telling me it's got like another 8 years before it's allowed to be released, as according to Jerry's will, I think is.
Yeah, actually, a couple of years ago, he donated the movie to the Library of Congress along with the rest of his collection, but it cannot be shown publicly until 2025. So the next time you see an eclipse over the United States, another year, we're going to be able to see The Day the Clown Cried.
Yeah, like Uniqueness 35 said in the chat, it's kind of compared it to Family Guy. It does seem like a bad Family Guy joke.
It does seem like a bad. Yeah, but like I said, it is. People, I tell people this story, and they're shocked. They cannot believe something like this could exist. And you can see various clips from the movie on YouTube, and there's reenactments, and there are said to be scripts of the actual film, the actual script, that are online, and I haven't read any of them, but I even though it is a dark subject matter, I keep saying to myself, I've got to see this. I've got to see how bad it is. It's not. I thought Batman versus Superman was bad, but this almost takes bad to a whole nother level.
But Rob, the question is, we're not talking about bad in terms of the subject matter. We're talking about just in terms of narrative structure and just the story. Like the actual movie is just not a well put together film. It's just boring.
And
just
actually,
a bad idea all around.
And actually, at a Q&A not that long ago, he said we'll be able to see it, and he said, no, this is a movie that I'm embarrassed by. I thought it was a good idea, but apparently it wasn't. And Swedish actress Harry Anderson, she was a very famous Swedish actress. She was in the movie. She said she thought it was a good idea, a good story to tell, but as she was shooting it, she says, I can't believe what I'm seeing. This is terrible. So,
and not to be confused with the Harry Anderson of Night Court fame, of course.
Harry,
But yeah, Jerry will be missed. Yeah, he's big legend.
A legend. I hate to think that's going to be his lasting legacy now. A movie that he did not want anybody to see.
It probably will be. But.
Oh boy.
But anyway, so for you younger guys, like I said, who don't know that story, you can. I am not making this up. And I said this is.
It's real.
Yeah, it's real, and this is something that I've been personally fascinated with with for a little while now, trying to find different clips of it, trying to find something more information about it, but not a lot of information actually exists of it. Yeah. There's footage of Jerry getting off the plane in Sweden, walking through the terminal, go on his way to make the film. There's various stills on the internet from the film, but the actual film is locked away. So, and we will not be able to see it for a number of years. But so anyway, so that's. Like I said, if Midnight's Edge was around the 70s, that's the kind of thing we would have been covering. So.
Oh, yeah. So Jerry Lewis, 1926 to 2017, a huge legend in Hollywood. He will be missed. The box office, though. What happened in the box office this weekend? Let's take a look at that.
Hopefully the box office didn't cry like
No, it didn't. Actually, if you're Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson, you're crying, but for a totally different reason, because you had a pretty decent-sized hit for R-rated comedy. $21 million for Hitman's Bodyguard on a $30 million budget, so that's not bad at all. It came out in number 1. Annabelle 2 dropped down to number 2. It had a 55% drop, but hey, that's nothing because the movie only cost $15 million and had 64 already in grossing, so it's doing very, very well for that franchise. Logan Lucky, on the other hand, was not so lucky. Opened up with a measly $7.6 million. It has a $30 million budget, so that's going to be tough to get back at this point. Dunkirk's still doing pretty well, crossed over the $150 million mark this last week here, and did another $6 million this weekend. Nut Job 2 is hanging in there. Not doing the greatest, but I'm sure it'll do much better on video. The Emoji Movie seems to be a fairly decent success for Sony.
Oh, God. I'm sorry. No, keep going. That movie shouldn't have made any money, but keep going.
Right. Spider-Man Homecoming keeps chugging along, if I could talk today. Did another $4 million this weekend. Still has China to open up in. It crossed over the $700 million mark this last week, and I'm sure when it's all said and done, it'll probably come close to 800 or more, and may actually squeak out and come out front in the summer. We'll see how that goes here in the next few weeks. Girls Trip come in at number 8 with another $3 million, which is not doing too bad at all for what it is. Actually, almost $4 million. The Dark Tower dropped down some more. The movie has only managed to do $41 million altogether, which is not boding well for this film at all. It had a $60 million budget. They're still trying to sell the TV series that accompanies it, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes the next few weeks. And then Wind River, a Weinstein film, a smaller one, did okay. Did about $2 million on an $11 million budget, so it must be a smaller Oscar film on its way out here, I'm assuming. But yeah, so what's your guys' overall take on the box office, and then we can move into the main stories.
Really not a whole lot of surprises there. The Emoji Movie keeps on trucking.
I don't understand this. It was supposed to fail. I mean, part of it was all critics, no matter what political party you were in, no matter what your beliefs were, no matter who you were, gender, whatever, we were all supposed to come together and say, the Emoji Movie is garbage. We need to destroy it. We need to kill it. We need to make sure that Hollywood, and more specifically Sony, knows never again try to make such a blatant cash grab derivative of other successful animated films and just make it a just by the numbers corporate, just cookie cutter. Okay, this is not the Emoji Movie rant. This is Midnight's Ledge After Dark Live. Okay, but the Emoji Movie is one of those special kind of bad that I think is going to go down in history as one of the worst films ever to be conceived by humanity. I really feel that the fact that it made this much money is, I feel it should be a federal crime. I don't. There's just something in me that really feels like, where did humanity go wrong? That despite the abysmal reviews that it deserved, it still makes $125 million in a couple weeks. Is concerning.
And it's still got a few markets to open yet, too, I think.
Right, and I'm thinking to myself, will Sony learn? Probably not.
No, not with this. This is good for them.
Because they're probably looking at the Dark Tower like, oh, okay, well, we messed up with the Dark Tower. But the Emoji Movie, let's make Emoji Movie 2, 3, 4, blah, blah, blah. And it's
going to happen.
Where does it come to? I don't know. It's crazy. But then you also have Spider-Man Homecoming, which is still doing very well. Which I'm very happy about. I hope it tops Wonder Woman. I think it deserves it more than Spider-Man, more than Wonder Woman does tenfold. One of the ones that really stands out to me is Logan Lucky, because it's one of those movies where I don't think anyone really knew about it.
Well, and it got pretty good reviews, so, but yeah, it's not doing very well.
Oh, it did. It got exceptional reviews, especially on Rotten Tomatoes. It has a 93% and a 78% with audiences. So I may check it out. I have no idea what it's about, but it seems like one of those movies where it's really good. It just doesn't seem to find an audience. Kind of like with Scott Pilgrim, which is one of Edgar Wright's greatest films, and it wasn't able to captivate audiences. And I think part of that was because of Michael Cera's star power. But with this, I just feel like it's down to advertising. I just think they didn't really advertise it well. I saw maybe one TV spot on Adult Swim, and that was it.
You do realize that the words Michael Cera's star power are contradictory terms, right?
Yes, of course. I mean, especially now. I mean, Michael Cera has pretty much fell off the face of the earth.
But speaking of good films and bad films, that's probably a good segue to our next segment and our first news story of the night.
Oh, yeah.
Star Wars has announced another anthology movie in the works. Last week we found out that Obi-Wan was on his way. Now this one, oh boy, Jabba the Hutt's getting its own movie apparently. And I'm just gonna say what I said to Rob when I first talked to him about this. How the fuck are you gonna make a Jabba the Hutt movie? How the fuck? I mean, seriously, is it gonna be subtitled? What's the story gonna be? I don't. Jabba growing up and going to slug school? What?
It's gonna be the Hutt father. That's what's gonna be.
Exactly. Yeah. Too cool.
you have like what Bib Fortuna be his consigliere.
Yeah.
He goes, you have certain problems with the unions. Mr. the Hutt can make them go away.
Well,
never talk about Hutt business outside of the family.
I think it was one of you two that was saying that if they made it in the vein of Godfather, it could work. But at this, like, kind of like a crime sort of drama. But at the same time, why? I mean, you might as well have a movie about the trash compactor. I mean, at this point, there's
Gonk droids.
The
Exactly.
Gonk droids.
Or that movie. What movie? That John Schnapp from Collider Videos always talks about. He says he wants to have a Salacious Crumb movie. I mean, might as well something like that too. I mean,
well, he's got more of a character than Jabba the Hutt does. At least he can say words.
Exactly. It's just like, I mean, how can you make a movie, an hour and 30 minute movie about Jabba the Hutt? I mean, I don't understand at this point. I don't think I don't think it's even going to get made at this point. I think Kathleen Kennedy is going to look at it and say, you know what, maybe we should just focus on the main stars. And we don't want to take a few risks later down the line, but let's just establish. Let's make at least 4 really solid, well-loved movies that are also financially successful, and then we can start taking some risk and start doing some stupid stuff. Like, kind of like do a Lego movie. Do what the Lego movie did, where you didn't see it coming, but it was amazing. It was a great film. And do it like that, where you take a risk, but not now. I mean, even the Han Solo movie is kind of a risk, and that's a main flagship character, and we're seeing so many problems with that movie now, where you have the reshoots, then we don't know if it's going to be good or not, then you fire the director, so you're basically doing the whole movie again. It's like basically doing like a 5-page college thesis and saying, you know what, this is crap, I'm going to do it again. It's like...
like Shenyanango the Dragon said in our comments, what's next? Jar Jar Binks the fucking movie? I mean, come on. I mean...
I would actually go for that, actually, to be honest.
Don't give him ideas, or...
No, I would go for it.
So Jabba sends Greedo to Owen Skywalker. He says, if you don't make the payments on those condensers, your brains or your signature will be on that contract, okay? So
it's actually Owen Lars, but yeah, we know what you're talking about.
Owen Lars. Fuck, I fucked that up. So damn,
that's all right. That's the problem with being live, Rob. No. How the fuck... okay, I can see Jabba being part of a Boba Fett movie, but
this is again, like Jake said, Jake who said was on the last podcast. He said there's no way to make a character less interesting than to explain his backstory. Nobody wants to know what Jabba's backstory. He's a gigantic slug. That's it. You know, you kind of just accept that Jabba just kind of is, and that's it. You don't want to know how his rise to power.
I mean, he's basically an obese slug I mean, he's a crime boss. That's what he is. That's it. And he just drools. And he's fat. And I mean, what else?
Doesn't sing hero material. Yeah. And he was a big part of the Clone Wars movie. Most people may not remember, unless you're a huge Star Wars fan, that when they did the Clone Wars TV show, they actually released an elongated pilot episode, basically, in theaters, and Jabba was a big part of that story because his kid got kidnapped.
Oh.
And even then, it was tough to kind of make him a bigger part of the story. You know,
you're limited just because of his mobility issues. I mean, really, that's.
Imagine if the entire movie was basically just him sitting in his little cellar there, and he's just sitting there, he's just talking, and you have the subtitles there. There's just some talking for about an hour and 30 minutes at the camera.
Why don't you? You know, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, or maybe he's just telling us a story of like his old life or something. I don't know. I mean, I really can't see a way a Jabba the Hutt movie could work unless somehow maybe he's secretly like mobile like Yoda. He's like, maybe he's a Sith Lord or something.
Well, like I said, we've seen an episode in every movie in every movie but Return of the Jedi, we have, in all fairness, seen him move around. Don't get me wrong. But it's still a slow-moving vehicle. And that's what this movie's going to end up being, is a slow-moving vehicle, because what the fuck are you going to do? You can't make Jabba a main character. He's a catalyst character. He's the reason that Han Solo is running. That's the only reason he is invented in the first place.
He's a plot device. That's about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, until the third film, he really has zero character other than Han Solo's running away from him. That's it. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Anyway, enough of that. I mean, I still have faith in. I think The Last Jedi is going to be one of the greatest sci-fi films of this generation. I keep saying that. I can feel it. But as far as the Han Solo movie, I'm still worried about that. If that sucks, then I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's not greenlight the Jabba the Hutt movie. Let's just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Well, if there was ever the worst idea besides Jar Jar Binks the movie, this is it. So unless anybody else has anything more to say about that, I say we move along.
Here's the thing. One thing. I think I can actually go for a trash compactor movie. You do it kind of like what WALL-E was. Like, I'm serious. You can do it like WALL-E, and it can work. It's kind of sad how a trash compactor movie can work more than the Jabba the Hutt movie. You know.
Well, in all seriousness, yeah. Why? I would rather have a movie that's completely revolved around droids than this, because at least in the droid universe, there's all kinds of different kind of characters you could pull out of there. There's not much of a character to Jabba the Hutt. Even the Godfather film. Look at the Godfather film. How much does the Godfather actually have to do with that story? Yeah. Midway through the story, he's out of commission.
Yeah. That's and you know, really, well, the whole thing about the Godfather is Vito Corleone is not the Godfather. Michael is the Godfather.
Right. It's about him becoming the Godfather. Yeah. Correct. But that's my whole point. Is okay. So even if you try to do something like that, he's still going to be a very stale character. You're not going to be able to build a whole movie around him. So, like, I mean, unfortunately, like, we didn't even want to do this as a story, but it's like, it's so ludicrous. How can you not? You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's bare mentioning just for the sheer absurdity of it all. But anyway, moving on, let's get into some Justice League news. I know all the DCEU fanboys are going to be happy to know about this, that their Lord and Savior, Zack Snyder, may be coming back to Justice League after a cluster that is the production of Justice League. But of course, in all DCEU fanboys' minds, the DCEU can do no wrong. So basically, everything's perfectly fine. The fact that they keep jumping through directors and through hula hoops, and they keep reshooting most of the movie, about 70% of it from what I'm hearing, the movie's perfectly fine. There's nothing to worry about here. Everything's going to be fine. The DCEU is perfect. It's all sunshine and rainbows. Wonder Woman needs to get an Oscar now because it's the perfect film. It's so good.
Well, I guess to be clear up front, this is what's going on. There's a boatload of rumors running around that Zack Snyder may be coming back to finish off the production of Justice League. Now, normally I would say this holds no water, but with the news that came out about Joss Whedon, if that's affecting his ability to work on this film, and also there's the stipulations in just basically like the laws as far as like the union goes, to where Zach can come back in as long as he wasn't fired from the production. He can come back in and do, as you know, and I'm sure they even had stuff in the contract where if he decided he wanted to come back. So that's a very good possibility that this is true. Do I wish it to be true? No. Go ahead.
The Directors Guild of America has some very specific rules about replacing directors and how you can be credited. So I can see him coming back just for legal purposes.
Right.
But other than that, I'm like, Zach, just take some time. You know, hey, have you been to Italy? I mean, geez,
Disney World.
Exactly. You and the wife get away from the Canadian Maritimes are beautiful this time of year. So.
But yeah, so I mean, and the way the laws work as far as the unions go too, he will probably get sole director credit. That's already kind of been established. I haven't seen that for sure, but considering he was the director throughout the main production, he'll probably get the credit. I have a feeling Joss Whedon will get like a story credit, possibly an executive producer credit, and maybe a second unit credit. Or like you have like a situation like the first Superman movie where Tom Mankiewicz was credited as a creative consultant, even though he rewrote the entire script. But yeah, so I mean, I hope this isn't true. I really do.
Well, why not, Tom? I mean, it's their Lord and Savior, Zack Snyder, who can do no wrong. I mean, he's perfection.
Don't get me started on that shit.
He makes all his films dark and depressing, and there's no story. It's discombobulated. There's a bunch of CGI scenes collected together in what he claims to be a movie for about an hour, 30 minutes, or if not more, or 3 hours of a grind of a dark, depressing movie. I mean, he's the best director out there. I mean, we might as well just claim him to be the next Spielberg at this point. I mean, he can do no wrong. He's perfect.
How long would a Zack Snyder movie be if all the slow motion scenes were played at normal speed?
I tried it. Wonder Woman's 25 minutes. No, I don't. Yeah, the sad part is like, no. This is a week after we got a report, and we just talked about it, about how supposedly the first cut of Justice League was a mess, meaning Zack Snyder's cut. So I just don't see Warner Brothers wanting him to come back necessarily.
I mean, I think they should. I mean, like I said, I think Zack Snyder is.
Zack Snyder Zack Snyder can make that Animal Planet show too cute, dark, and gritty. That's how bad he is. He can make an hour film about puppies just be dark, gritty, and nihilistic.
I couldn't even get through that severe sarcasm without even laughing. Zack Snyder, what are we gonna do with you? It's just, oh God. I mean, I know there's some DCU fanboys on Midnight's Edge, and they're just going to be like, oh, you're such a hater. How could you say anything bad about Zack Snyder? He's perfect. Like, let's just wait until the movie comes out, and we'll just see how it is. Because for me right now, I think it's going to set the DCU back. And I think people are going to realize, hey, maybe DC hasn't learned. Maybe Wonder Woman was a fluke, which I really think it was a fluke. But anyway, I don't know. We just have to wait and see. Can we please move on to the next topic? I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to talk about Zack Snyder.
Okay. All right. We'll move along.
He's a blight on the film world's ass.
Because the next topic might actually take a little bit. There's a lot of rumors going around, of course, with that the announcement of I think it was called Screening Room, and a few other things that Hollywood's kind of looking into. They are talking about possibly cutting theaters out of the mix altogether if they do not start to basically live up to what the audience wants out of their theatrical going experience.
Okay, we have the plot now of the Jabba the Hutt movie. So this is the plot. Jabba's gonna send his henchmen to cut theaters out of the out of the business.
Cut them out.
Popcorn.
Popcorn's what made him fat. So yeah, so of course, there's always there was the 3D thing that went on for a while, and I'm a big 3D fan. I loved it, especially in IMAX. You got the IMAX screen, you got your, it's not like, I think basically what it boils down to, and this is kind of what we talked about the other night, is it's getting economically sound for the studios to say, hey, wait a minute here. Look at how popular and successful Netflix has been with their stuff, and Hulu and Amazon. We can do that, and we don't even need the theaters.
I have a better idea. If they really want to make theaters profitable again, make movies profitable, make better fucking movies! Jesus Christ, the answer's right in front of you.
Well, and that's just it, and that's what we talked about on our superhero fatigue podcast, and that's what we brought up many, many, many times. Is that it's not that that you know, they keep saying, you know, the revenue is going down, people aren't going to the movies so often anymore, and they're trying to blame it on the theaters and how much it costs, and yeah, that's a part of it. But like you just said, the bigger part is the movies suck lately. When you can't sit down and say, but a handful of films out of the year are generally universally praised by the audience and the critics anymore. Every franchise is trying to do what Marvel's doing, and it's just not working out well for them. Hollywood needs a major renovation because they have no middle of the road films anymore. All this stuff is stuff that we've touched on before, but it bears mentioning because, yes, I'm sure Hollywood could cut out theaters in the middleman and make just as much or more money by directly streaming films into people's homes. But is that what people are really going to want in the end? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of films I'd love to be able to watch right away and not have to go to the theater and spend the $10, $15 and all that kind of crap. But I enjoy going to the theater to see something like Spider-Man or even Wonder Woman for that matter, whether or not I enjoyed the film. It's just that spectacle at least is there for that. But when it comes to all these other movies that are out there, you're really kind of hit and miss on what is really available for entertainment. Yeah, this last year I've noticed there's been a lot of $30 million movies that are coming out. So that's a bit of a step in the right direction. But if they keep failing like Lucky Logan did, I just don't know how Hollywood's going to react to that.
I think Lucky Logan probably should have been released at a different time. It probably should have been released maybe early March or maybe around late October or so, because like I said, the end of the summer just signals that you have no confidence in a movie like this. And well, maybe it was, but maybe it was something the studio didn't have any confidence in, and it just completely flew under the radar that even the studio didn't take it seriously. But at the same time, like, I think I said this to you guys, it takes a lot for me to get out to the movies. I'm like, I'm always going to see a Bond movie. I'm always going to see Star Wars. I'm always going to see a Spider-Man movie. I'm always going to see an Avengers movie, whatever it is. But to get me out to like a movie like a Lucky Logan, it's gonna take a lot, because the whole movie going experience is really a drag now, and it's expensive, and it's they have started serving beer at theaters, but again, we're getting to a point is, do you really want to take a chance on a movie that is, for every one good movie like a Lucky Logan, you're gonna get 50 bad ones?
Right. And then, the Silver Gecko 2198 show in the comments said, no streaming doesn't make as much money as a cinema. Not offhand, but if you were to, here's the thing you got to remember, the theaters get a part of that revenue.
Well, the other thing too is they want to charge $40 for these movies.
Right, and then that's the other thing I was going to say. The amount that these movies are going to cost up front is going to cover whatever revenue they would lose between the window of the theater and home video, and also to make up for multiple ticket sales, because obviously everybody's going to bring their friends over and they're all going to watch Avengers 3 on their TV. But because we kind of questioned that ourselves, how are they going to be able to, that's how they're going to be able to do it, is by cutting out the middleman, by not having to pay let the theaters have their portion of it. They will get all of it. There will be no more middleman anymore. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what they're kind of planning towards, and this could be the death of cinema if it works out for them.
I hope it's not, because I really love cinema. I love the theater going experience. I think what theaters are going to have to do is that they're going to have to try to have more competitive pricing, have all their screens be IMAX. I mean, I know it sounds kind of unrealistic, but if you follow me on my logic is you're going to have more incentives to go to the movie theater. And I think as technology progresses, it's going to get cheaper. So they're going to be able to, in the long run, they're going to be able to actually afford it in the long run as it becomes more accessible to people. And as technology becomes easier to produce, and that way you can have more people going to the theater, because it's a communal experience. I mean, I can have the best screen, the 4K screen, whatever, at the home, but it doesn't beat going to the theater and just seeing the reaction and the love from the fans. I mean, I'll never forget the first time I saw The Force Awakens a couple years ago, and it really impacted me a lot more now that I realized. Where I remember going there, it was winter in December, and I remember going there at night and seeing Star Wars Force Awakens for the first time, and everyone just loved it, and everyone was clapping, and there was just a warm feeling from seeing that movie for the first time, that it really stuck with me a lot, and I'm really gonna remember that for the rest of my life. I remember I was sitting next to two people, and I remember I just made friends with them, just kind of sharing the love of Star Wars. I mean, that's what movie theaters are all about. I don't think it's gonna go away. I think there's enough people out there like me, and of course I would assume you guys as well, that just don't want to see that go away. I don't think it's gonna go away.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there. The only way that theaters are going to be able to survive is if they up the game just a little bit, and IMAX is a good example of how to do that. Go back to when TV was invented. The motion picture companies thought they were done for. They thought, oh, TV's in everybody's getting a TV, nobody's going to go see the movies anymore. Well, what they figured out then is you have to make things different. So they started widescreen, they started 3D, they started color, they started, stereo sound, and on down the road. Well, and I can understand where the film companies are getting kind of tired, because the theaters have become very stagnant in adapting to new things. The theater companies had to get help from the studios to implement all the digital stuff. So now they've supplemented a lot of that kind of funding and all that kind of crap, and especially through now everything's a digital print pretty much. You very rarely get to go see a 35 or 70 millimeter print of a film anymore, because 90% of theaters now are digital for that specific reason. But that was how many years ago that upgrade was made, and now I can see that Hollywood is expecting the theaters now to take over and say, okay, now it's your turn to start upgrading your theaters. We've gotten you this far. And if they're not going to make that step, I can see the studio saying, you know what, fuck you, we're going to cut you out. We're just going to do this ourselves. We know that Netflix and Hulu and Amazon work. We can do our own thing, and we don't need you anymore.
Yeah. Well, so you think IMAX is going to be more is going to become closer to the standard now?
Yeah, it's going to be more prevalent. I think that especially with the next Avatar movies coming out, if the technology is far enough along with James Cameron to where he wants to be able to do 3D without the glasses, that's the kind of thing theaters need to be able to implement. Whether it's holographic projection, whatever it is, however it works.
Like 4D type stuff, like or even like an interactive experience where like your seat. I've heard some new stuff where they have seats now that they move and they contract and they vibrate in conjunction to the film itself, like if it's an action film.
It's like D-Box, it's called at home. I think there's theaters that have it too, and there's some other ones that have their own brand. The only thing is I will say about that is that they need to find a middle ground, because they don't want it to become too much like an amusement park, because that's going to make it seem a little jarring, because I would go to Universal Studios if I wanted that experience. It needs to be something where it's like an IMAX screen needs to become the standard. I really think it does, because to me, I pretty much exclusively see films in IMAX. I mean, we're talking about the major motion picture movies like Avengers, Star Wars, stuff like that. Independent films are fine. You can have them on a small screen. Those aren't going to go away, because you don't need a big screen. But I think major motion picture films are going to need IMAX to really sell it and really up the price to really keep that sustainability. And I think more, because right now my local theater has I think it only has one IMAX screen. I think it only has one. Yeah, it has one, and that's it. Maybe two. I'm trying to remember, because they just renovated it recently. I think it's only one, and I think they're going to have to start having more IMAX per theater, like maybe 3 instead of 1 per theater, and that way you can have more screenings. They'll make more revenue, and they'll be able to have the sustainability while also satisfying the fans with a very, very optimal viewing experience. And that's one of the ways they can do to try to save the theater industry as a whole. And that also, with the whole thing of the pricing, I think the pricing with the tickets itself needs to come down significantly. What do you think, Rob?
Well, another thing I've noticed is actually that I think it's Cinemark is actually, and a lot of the theaters are doing this. They're actually bringing back classics now too. They're giving you that's okay. They're giving you a chance to see those older movies you may have seen on television years ago.
Regal's is doing that as well. That's my local theater. Regal's also doing that.
Yeah, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Annie Hall,
Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club, and actually next month, Wrath of Khan is going to be in theaters too, on September 10th. So mark your calendar.
Terminator 2 is coming up here next week.
Oh,
yeah. Like I said, and it gives us. We remember seeing those films, and we probably have a lot of us have kids. I don't have any kids right now that I know of, but anyway.
Oh, okay, that's a little twist there.
Rob, we got to talk, by the way. No, I'm just kidding.
We got to talk after this. This is very private.
No, yeah, I get what you're saying. No, yeah,
but it gives you a chance to share that experience with your kids or with other people who maybe not familiar with that film. But again, one of the things actually I thought they would be doing right by now is that much like kind of like when you're on an airplane, you plug your headphones into the jack, and you get your own sound through the headphones. I thought that would be standard now, but apparently not. So
maybe you can only get 2 channels of sound out of headphones as opposed to 17 channels in a Dolby Atmos theater, or or something like that. So no, and it just all again boils down to the experience, and that's one way that they could do that is a more personal experience that way. Yeah.
Another thing too is, like I said, a lot of people and like I said, I'm not a parent, at least not that I know of, but people bringing young kids into movies. I think Andre had this thing where he told me, where he lives, the cinemas he goes to, they have children-friendly screenings of certain films, so that if you want to go to a movie and you don't have anybody to watch Junior, you bring him to this particular movie, this particular time of day.
That's actually interesting.
And I think that's something theaters need to start looking at, because, like I said, it's becoming a real problem. People are bringing small children into screenings of films that they really shouldn't be in.
Yeah.
Right, like I brought up in the one show, I said I went to a midnight screening of Freddy vs. Jason, and there was a bunch of little kids there. What are you doing dragging kids to a movie like that, let alone even just your bigger movies where it's just common courtesy? Why?
Or, I remember seeing some children in Batman v Superman, and I remember the entire time like, "What's that, Daddy? What's that? What's the big spike monster? I don't know what that is." I'm like, "You're not supposed to be in here. This is a PG-13 movie." I mean, like I said, I know they're parents. They probably couldn't afford daycare or whatever, but
no, if you can afford a $16 ticket for your kid to get into a movie, you can afford a babysitter for 2 hours. I'm sorry. That to me makes no sense.
Okay. Well, I know Rob was saying too about the daycare idea. I think they should.
Well, yeah.
The thing about it is money. It's not even the concept is fine. It's the money, because you can have like screen rooms that are like separate from the main ones, that are like these. You have like a big screen, but for a child it's smaller, but for a child relative it looks big to them. And you can have like a daycare center where you can have little seats that are for children from like age 0 to like maybe 8 or 9, and then you can have them there, and then they can have a bunch of different daycare people there watching them and monitoring them, and have little baby cages or whatever, and then just watch a movie like The Nut Job 2 or something like that, and just throw it up on the screen at an additional cost.
Yeah.
In a sense,
Yeah, I understand what you. But one of the problems with that is liability, though.
Right.
With anytime kids, right. But you can just designate this is a child friendly screening.
Right. You can take one theater. You have 2 or 3 ushers, and like you said, it could be something that could be. I think there is some bigger cities where they may even have like almost like a daycare center thing in there in bigger theaters, but I could be wrong. If somebody out there knows, let me know. But it's not a bad idea. But like you said, the liability is the big problem.
Right. I agree. Well, anyway, I don't know if you guys want to move on to the roundup now, since we're...
Or actually, it'd be the Star Trek.
Oh, okay, yes. Let me just go over to the Star Trek now. I thought it was the...
So we got some... That's all right. We got some Star Trek news for you guys. Rob, Captain Rob. He's got some Star Trek news.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have stopped my stream, so let me know. Let me know when the intro's finished. So where are we in the stream here?
Great Beyond. Okay.
Should be good now.
Okay, so we're live, people. There's no... Okay, Star Trek news. Boldly going where few podcasts have gone before, or where they'll soon go. First item. Actually, Seth MacFarlane, Family Guy creator of the Orville, Star Trek mega fan, not happy about the new direction of Star Trek Discovery and of science fiction. Family Guy creator and devoted Star Trek fan Seth MacFarlane is tired of the new dark and gritty direction. MacFarlane told a group of reporters at a TCA panel, he said, "I miss the optimism. I'm tired of being told that everything is going to be grim and dystopian, and people are going to be murdering each other for food. I've had enough of that. I miss the hopeful side of science fiction. That kind of goes back to the roots of the genre. What can we achieve if we put our minds to it? That flourished in the 90s. Some shows did it more in a more cheesy fashion, and others, like Star Trek, made it a little more legit. But that was the way to do a sci-fi show back then." He's got a really good point. I mean, that was supposed to be. I mean, when you used to watch Star Trek, you were saying like, "Wow, I can't wait to see a lot of this stuff." So, but
right, and then with the Orville coming out.
But even just something as simple as the set design, everything being light and bright and colorful, and not looking like it's Zack Snyder's basement. So, sorry, yeah, we keep beating up on Zack Snyder.
Now, here's the thing too. Like, I want to address Zack Snyder real quick. I know this is irrelevant, but a lot of people in the comment section are thinking we're hating on him specifically, personally, on a personal level. No, it's not a personal level. We're talking about him as a professional and a creator.
Yeah.
His personal life is irrelevant to the discussion. We don't hate him as a person. We're just looking at his creative decisions and him as a director. And I'm not a fan. We're not fans of him, but his personal life is notwithstanding. So I just wanted to give a disclaimer there so people can stop. I know you guys want to defend him. That's fine too. Again, if you guys like Zack Snyder's movies, that's fantastic. Films are subjective, but it's
I like Watchmen.
Yeah, exactly. Some people like Watchmen. I don't personally like
Dawn of the Dead was okay.
Yeah, but that's fine. If you like it, that's fine. I'm just saying for the sake of our group here. We don't hate Zack Snyder personally. We just don't like his creative decisions. So, with that being said, we can continue on with your Star Trek news.
All right.
Okay. All right. The cast of The Next Generation, next up, they're not eager to appear on Discovery. At a recent event, Trek Vegas, several cast members said from Star Trek, blah. This is live, people. We're going to flub here. At a recent event, Trek Vegas, several cast members of Star Trek Next Generation have said, while they wish the cast of Discovery well, they aren't exactly in a hurry to appear on the show. Brent Spiner, who played Commander Data, said, "A guest shot? I don't know about that. I'm very optimistic about this show. I'm very hopeful that it's going to be fantastic. I hope it continues this wonderful epic journey that Star Trek has been on." And I feel it probably will. I don't know that I need to be a part of it necessarily, but I encourage them and hope for the best.
That's basically a death wish. Like, hey, well, good luck with that. Good luck with the train wreck,
that's pretty much a nice way of saying we don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole, but yeah.
And you're going to like this. Garrett Wang, who played Ensign Harry Kim on Voyager, he said he'd rather appear on the Orville. Garrett Wang, who played Ensign Harry Kim on Star Trek Voyager, said he'd rather appear on the Fox series Orville. He said, "I did a role on American Dad for Seth MacFarlane, and the question on if I would be interested in doing Discovery, I would honestly be more interested. Yeah, I would honestly be more interested in guest starring on the Orville than Discovery."
Oh, ouch!
Ouch! That's gotta hurt.
Speaking of Discovery.
Oh, man. Moving on, next item.
Yeah.
Discovery is not going to have standalone episodes like previous other Star Trek series. Because, you could always point to that one episode. Yeah, remember the one with the big rock monster that used to dissolve people and then, like, Spock had to mind meld? Yeah, that was awesome. Nope, not going to happen this time. In an effort to be more like other series, Discovery will not feature standalone episodes. Executive producer Alex Kurtzman said, "The fact that we are on a streaming channel," Kurtzman explains, "allows us to tell stories in a different way. These are serialized stories. They are not standalone stories. So in the way you would watch any series for the characters, and for that approach," Kurtzman added, "we get to do that here, and that is really exciting."
Oh boy.
I'm glad somebody finds it exciting.
Oh boy. Oh boy. I can't wait for this. It's gonna be amazing. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Oh god. Okay.
And as if that weren't bad enough, they're getting way ahead of themselves. Kurtzman has said season 2 won't be about the Klingons. Can we even see if people give a shit about season 1 first?
Like, Alex Kurtzman's like, oh man, we have season 2 down the line. We got everything down pat. People are gonna love Discovery season 1. I mean, it's like, it's kind of, it reminds me of the Universal with the Mummy franchise and the Dark Universe, where they're like, we're gonna have, you know, Harvey Bardem as Frankenstein and Johnny Depp as the Invisible Man, blah blah blah. You know, Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and then the Mummy bombs, and now they're like, oh well, okay, you know, we thought we were Marvel, I guess not, and it kind of feels the same way here, where we're like, oh, we got everything all squared off, we got a season 2 coming, guys, and then as soon as this one completely fails, which I think Discovery is going to be a complete disaster. I guess I can't wait to see the train wreck. I think it's going to be a pretty train wreck, though. I mean, visually, the film, I mean, the show looked good, besides some of the character designs and designs of the actual space vehicles themselves looking like Gothic cathedrals, kind of in the shape of a space thing. I don't know. Discovery is a very interesting show. I mean, I know we did documentaries before. If you're going to want to know a little bit more of that, you can check Midnight's Edge for those documentaries, specifically talking about the production of Star Trek Discovery. But nevertheless, this is interesting. Even other cast members of different Star Trek shows are kind of like, this is the bastard child. This is that one child that everyone kind of knows there's something a little off about him, but we pretend that he's there, but we just don't really acknowledge him too much. We just kind of let him be there. He's present.
he's the relative nobody talks about.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, I think you pretty much said it there. Like he said, they're going to try different kinds of storytelling. They don't want to do the Klingons second season. That's all I want to say about that. I had a larger quote, but we pretty much covered it. And speaking of that interesting train wreck, as some people have already noted, Star Trek Discovery is getting a TV MA rating.
Really? I didn't know this. A TV MA? Why? What? Why?
Because the kids want dark and gritty. That's why. It's gonna. That breaks that right there.
Because we need Game of Thrones in space.
The thing about previous Star Trek shows is they've shown people died, but it's been very bloodless, you know.
Yeah, like
and
Star Wars,
or red shirts.
Yeah. A guy would just be illuminated by a phaser and he would just vanish.
Well, I think it kind of makes sense for it to be MA. I mean, after all, Mass Effect is also rated M for mature, so obviously the fact that it's basically Mass Effect, it makes sense that maybe they wanted to mature it so it can coincide with the Mass Effect cinematic universe that they're obviously trying to create that's crossing over to Star Trek, apparently. So, I guess from that standpoint, it makes sense for them to have it be MA, but
Maybe we're going to finally find out how many boobs do Klingons actually have. So
that would be a really interesting development to see.
6.
Yeah,
and actually, they had about 10, maybe 12.
6.
Well, anyway, we have a bit of happy news actually. Too, Deep Space Nine actress Terry Farrell, you may know her as Dax, and you may actually recognize her from Back to School, the girl that Rodney Dangerfield's son in that movie was after. She actually is engaged to the son of the late actor Leonard Nimoy, Adam Nimoy. So congratulations to them.
That's great. So, that's fantastic. That's great.
Like I said, we had to end. We had to end on an up note and on a high note, and that's great. So that's our Captain Robb's log for this week.
All right.
Hopefully we'll have some better news for you. It doesn't look like we will.
Make the news, guys. We just report it. But that moves us along then to Robb's roundup for the week. He takes all the not so big news stories and throws them all into one little segment. So here we go on that.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the roundup.
See the visual. Okay, where's the...
Take your time, Rob. Take your time.
Well, yeah. Are we? Well, the stream is lagging, people. I'm sorry.
Why don't you do it in a Western voice when you're speaking about the stories?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we buckaroos, it's time for the roundup. Sit back, rest your saddle sores. We got some news that maybe you don't care about, maybe you do care about. I don't know. I'm just going to bring it to you. We'll lay this right on down. Okay, that's how bad my country western voice. For those hoping for a Xena reboot, not happening. Sorry. The Xena NBC is not going to go forward with the Xena reboot. President Jennifer Salk has confirmed the reboot's demise to the Hollywood Reporter. She says nothing is happening on that right now. We looked at some material. We decided at that point it didn't warrant a reboot. I never say never on that one because it's such a beloved title, but the current incarnation of it is dead.
Well, I know nothing about this other than the name, so I'll leave it to you, Tom, if you wanted to say something about that.
Actually, if you never saw Xena Warrior Princess, I mean, Lucy Lawless was really hot.
I know it was a pretty big show back in the day. Sam Raimi, of course, was a big part of it. Doesn't surprise me. I mean, I take that back. It does kind of surprise me. I thought with the success of Wonder Woman, this was like gonna happen, to be honest with you. So it is kind of surprising in a weird way.
All right. Well, next item there, buckaroos in the roundup. The Queen biopic film Bohemian Rhapsody has got some casting news. Do we really? I don't think we need one.
I don't think we need a Queen movie. I'm a huge fan of Queen. I think they're one of the greatest bands of all time, ever, period. I mean, their sound, the fact that they're able to transcend different generations and kind of go from a 70s glam rock to a really punchy 80s rock band and still sound like Queen and have the essence of their sound still in there, even though they kind of changed genres a little bit. I mean, like I said, they're a legendary band. They're one of the greatest bands of all time, one of the best-selling bands of all time. And you want to make a movie about them, fine. I mean, you have to really sell it. I mean, this should be an Oscar-caliber level film if you really want to do it right. And the fact that they're making it... Like, I remember earlier in the production, they were talking about how they wanted to be where Freddie Mercury have his death be halfway through the movie, and then the rest of the movie is just the rest of the members, which I'm like,
that's kind of what happened. Was Sacha Baron Cohen was attached to the film early on. He wanted to do an R-rated, warts and all biopic of the film. Between the band members or whatever, they decided they didn't want that. They wanted a more PG or PG-13 family-friendly film, and you are correct. They wanted the death of Freddie Mercury to come in halfway into the film, to where the last half of the film is about how the band went on without Freddie. Who the fuck cares? That's what I got to say to that. I don't want this movie. I wanted the Sacha Baron Cohen one. I don't want some cheesy made-for-TV type movie that is just going to sanitize the entire story. And like I said, who gives a shit how they moved on afterwards without Freddie Mercury?
Well, supposedly they're ending the film around Live Aid. Suppose that's one of the rumors about the story I heard. But anyway, the cast is Ben Hardy.
Pretty stupid. I don't think it should end in Live Aid. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Rob. It's just they should. They should end it as the kind of the show goes on. Like I feel like they should have him die, but have it be more towards the last 40 minutes of the film, or maybe 30 minutes, and then have a nice ending where you have them. The show must go on. Have some other actors play some of the other. I think did you have Robert Plant was at the concert back in the 90s? I think he was there. If I remember correctly.
Ended it with the concert for Freddie Mercury.
Wasn't David Bowie there too? Wasn't he there?
Bowie was there.
Bowie was
George
there.
Michael. George Michael was there.
Right, exactly.
Axl Rose was there. Elton John was there. Yeah,
exactly.
And that's where they actually talked about the middle of the movie coming in was the Freddie Mercury tribute concert from what this new script.
That's stupid. I mean, you need to really tell Freddie's story right. I mean, yes, of course, I remember the bands. Brian, was a big part of it too. Of course, he's the guitarist. And Brian May, and he's a big part of. He did a lot of the songs too, and all the other ones, the bassist and the drummer as well. But Freddie is the staple of Queen. He is the face of it. He is the mascot of Queen, and you can't really do it justice without really exploring Freddie's backstory and the history of him becoming a musician and all that stuff. And it doesn't seem proper to me. It just almost feels like, well, we want to be relevant, so we're just going to kind of push Freddie aside and have this be the other members of Queen featuring, that's not how it is,
Well, to move along though, Bryan Singer is on board to direct, and who was just added to the cast then, Rob? I don't think you got that far.
Now, Ben Hardy from X-Men Apocalypse, Gilliam Lee from The Hollow Crown, Joe Mazzello from The Social Network, and Rami Malek. Hardy's going to be playing drummer Roger Taylor. Lee's going to be playing Brian May. Mazzello is going to be playing John Deacon, bassist. And Malek is from Mr. Robot. He will be playing Freddie Mercury. They are going to start shooting this fall with a Christmas Day 2018 release date.
So you know it's going to be more of a family film. There's no way.
Yeah, I mean, Rami Malek. I mean, I think he can pull off Freddie pretty easily. I mean, he has the look. He has the look of it.
That I have no issues with per se. It's just the story.
Yeah. I mean, if they're trying to make it a family-friendly thing, that's not going to do it. But anyway, moving right along. Let's get into the other subjects.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, right on the heels of Beauty and the Beast, Disney has found its Aladdin. Canadian actor Mena Massoud is cast in the title role of Aladdin. He's going to be joined by Naomi Scott as Jasmine and Numan Akar as Hakim, Captain of the Guards. And as we all know, Will Smith is playing the genie.
No, Jesus. Anyway, keep going.
Completely unnecessary.
How much you want to bet the genie's a rapper in this one?
Oh God, I wouldn't put it past him.
Aladdin, he's the DJ. I'm the rapper. No. That's an old DJ Prince joke.
Thinking back all to the 90s, good old Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh God. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, Jamie Bell, the guy who played Ben Grimm in Fantastic Four, he's still bitter about it.
Let it go, man.
Let it go.
See it on his face. I mean, look at that face. He's just like, yeah, I played in Fantastic Four. That happened. I mean, I married my co-star. What's her name?
Kate Mara.
Kate Mara. So that's good. But I still played in Fantastic Four, and that was a total train wreck. I mean, Kate Mara, heiress to the New York Giant football family fortune. I mean, so it's not all bad. I really don't feel bad for him because he's the guy who said yes to this. So
he got paid.
Yeah. But then,
aren't they married already? Didn't they get married?
I don't think they're married. I think
they are married. They are married. They just got married this year. I'm like, oh my God. I think it was a private ceremony. I mean, let's see if it lasts. I mean, I know Jamie Bell was married before, and he already has one kid with even Rachel Wood. So hopefully, you know how Hollywood goes with the
celebrity marriages. Yeah, well, let me just give you a brief quote on that. A production begins with the idea of making something that's unique and original, and with integrity. I think the film really strived towards those goals. No, it didn't. That's me. I don't know what happened between the launch of The Voyage and the arrival. Yes, you do.
Just watch Midnight's Edge.
Just watch Midnight's Edge. I think we were all bitterly disappointed with that film, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. You think?
I have nothing to say on that.
Now, go watch Midnight's Edge. You want to find out what happened. Happened, yeah. So, and our last news item on the roundup, son of Shaft. Jesse T. Usher has been cast as the son of Shaft.
You dig it?
In the reboot of the Shaft film directed by Incredibles director Tim Story.
Well, if I must say, as a black man, that sounds stupid.
Well, now, as far as I know, this is supposed to be yet another sequel, because if you remember right, the 2000 film with Samuel Jackson was actually technically a sequel to the original films. Now, this is going to be a sequel to that film. I know that,
I'm sorry, I just don't care at all. I mean, everything has to be a sequel, a reboot, blah, blah, blah. Everything has to be a retread. Have original ideas, Hollywood. Jesus Christ. Anyway, keep going.
He's going to be playing the estranged son of Samuel Jackson's Shaft character. And the two of them are going to have to team up to fight crime in the film. So,
oh boy, wow.
Shafts.
I hear that Shaft is a bad mother.
Shut your mouth.
I'll just talk about Shaft.
I can do it. So it's going to be called Shafts, plural?
That's a movie you used to see in the adult section.
Exactly.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's the roundup for this week.
Oh boy, that was quite a roundup. All right, so I think we got a couple minutes here, guys. Why don't we take 2 or 3 questions from the group, and then we'll call it a night since we're already over an hour. How's that sound?
Sounds fine to me.
All right, guys, throw up your questions there. If you got a question for us, we'll take a second to answer it here on the show. Of course, we got a little bit of delay, so yeah.
Yeah,
It'll just take a second. We didn't have any email questions this week. So, yeah, if you guys want to send us a question, just send it off to Midnight's Edge After Dark, all one word, @gmail.com.
I have to make a disclaimer. If you're going to ask a question, it's fine. We love getting questions from the fans. That's how we grow. Please keep it with under one paragraph, okay? Because
sure, yes, try to be concise.
It was a nightmare to read it last time. If you can have it under one paragraph, we can take about 5 sentences, maybe 6 sentences. That's cool, but just keep it brief because it was a grind trying to read those 2 questions that were like I think a whole thesis long. And we like I said, we love the fans, but try to keep it brief so we can get through more questions that way. That way, more questions get answered.
We got a couple people already asking if we saw The Defenders. I have not.
I haven't.
I don't think Rob has it.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm actually catching up on the 2nd season of Daredevil, which I really like so far.
I'm waiting for Rob. No. So we can do a show. Yes, we do hopefully plan on doing a roundtable eventually on The Defenders. So another question is Uniqueness 35. What's the hate against Bryan Singer?
I don't have anything against Bryan Singer. I really don't.
I think that has more to do with people in the group. They don't want him to be in charge of X-Men anymore, and I think it's mainly just because of what happened with Apocalypse.
But I don't think that's really his fault either. I think that's the studio. No. I think it was the studio that they were trying to cram in too much in the reshoots because Days of Future Past was amazing. It was a huge success, both financially and critically. So
yeah, Altomies, Altomies or whatever. I don't. I hope you're pronouncing that name right. Why the hell can't Star Trek move forwards? Well, we've covered that extensively, but I just think they're really afraid of trying new things. That they're just trying to mine the original series and the history as a cash grab. I really think there's a lot of people at CBS and Paramount who really don't know anything about Star Trek, and they think, hey, let's just keep trying to fill in the gaps as a quick way to exploit a familiar franchise.
And then another question that goes along with that: how would Star Trek be if Seth MacFarlane were running it? Probably decent, because he's an actual fan. Yeah, I mean, if anything, just watch the Orville and take out all the humor. That's probably what it would be eventually. Yeah. I mean, that at least looks decent.
Seth MacFarlane wanted to do a Star Trek series. In 2013, he said, I want to do a Star Trek series. And he actually had a lot of ideas. And I would really like... And this is probably what his idea was. So, definitely looking forward to that.
I'll grab 1 or 2 more here. Will Inhumans be the biggest disaster ever,
yes.
Shannon?
Actually, can I say something real quick? Guys, can I say something real quick? I found an image of Medusa. I'm going to throw it up on the screen real quick here. I'm just going to blow that up and you guys take a look at it. I mean, look at his beauty right here. Look how amazingly horrible this looks. I mean, doesn't this look like the pinnacle of just Marvel innovation right here? How Party City she looks, and her hair is just like early 2000s Spider-Man 2002 level CGI. I mean, I don't think you can ask for much better. I mean, but I don't know. What do you guys in the comments think about Medusa?
That's just.
I liked her better the first time when she was called Phoenix in the X-Men cartoon.
Oh Lord!
It's Morticia Addams
with red hair.
Pretty much. I guess I saw it on Midnight's Edge. I think one of the people posted on there. I thought I might just put that on there just to see what people thought about it. I mean, I think it looks absolutely awful. I mean, it's just to me, when I look at it, it breaks my heart. It really does break my heart because I really wanted Inhumans to be something special. Kind of like the X-Men in a certain sense, but they just completely butchered it. It's done. I mean, has the reviews come out yet? Let me take a look. In Humans, I know some of it has, but it hasn't been.
Well, and I think yet. Rob, were you telling me that they backed off on some of their IMAX showings?
Yeah, they're shortening the release of the IMAX pilot,
which means they ain't selling any tickets.
The IMAX, the pilot. Yeah, September 1st, it's supposed to be in theaters. I think it was originally planned for a 2-week release period. I think it's down to maybe 1.
Jesus Christ.
All right, we got one last question, and this will take us out.
Actually, Cthulhu's beard actually.
That's what I was going to ask.
Oh, the music, yeah.
What would we do? What do we think about Jabba the Hutt being filmed as a musical? Brilliant. That's the only way you could fix it.
That sounds awesome. With Peter Dinklage.
I would go for that, actually, to be honest with you. A musical of Jabba the Hutt.
Well, Peter Dinklage, of course, would play Salacious B. Crumb.
Salacious Crumb. Can't forget about Salacious Crumb, one of the greatest Star Wars characters of all time. I mean,
Who plays Cy Snoodles?
Cy Snoodles? That's a tough one.
Jake Bentley is
Margot Robbie.
Oh, yeah, Margot Robbie.
Oh, fuck. Well, thanks.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Take us out. Take us out. We're done here.
We've had a wonderful show tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again,
everyone, I'm sorry, everyone. If we didn't get to your questions, we're sorry, but we only have so much time.
Long. Yeah, we had a lot of topics to cover tonight, and hopefully you'll join us Thursday night where we have some more fun with you guys and a lot more news and questions. I want to thank Beyond and Rob for being with us here tonight, of course.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
And don't forget to check us out on Patreon, where there's all kinds of cool exclusive stuff. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and push that little the little bell icon there to make sure you get notified when we go live or have more videos. And of course, always check out Midnight's Edge, the main channel, and Robot Shlomo and BEyondDaBliz on YouTube as well. So thanks again, guys, for joining us. Thanks all of you out there for listening. And we hope to see you next time on Midnight's Edge After Dark.
All right, take care, guys. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your night or evening, depending on your time zone. But we're out. Talk to you guys later.